Hi y'all, Happy New Year and welcome to the first TBR jar video of 2025. I'm so excited to be doing this video and continuing the tradition because I need help figuring out what my January TBR will be. I hope everyone had an amazing holiday season, and now let's kick off the new year picking our TBR. This is my little jar of prompts. I really don't have very many left. I do take out every single one that I pick every month. So I think I have them somewhere on top of my bookshelf back here, but these are all the ones that I have left for now. So we're gonna pick maybe 6, 7, see how we're feeling and go from there. Here is the TBR cart. Looks the same, nothing's really changed. I have swapped out some books just because there are some series that I do want to prioritize, so I kind of threw those on there, but again, it's all up to the TBR jar. First prompt of 2025, what's it gonna be? All right, we picked it out. Author's debut novel. That's pretty interesting. I'm trying to think of one that I know off the top of my head, and I don't think I do. So I'm probably gonna have to look it up, pick some options, and get back to you. All right, I think I found the two that I'm kind of debating between. I have Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a rom-com, but this is Lynn Painter's debut YA, I think, and I have never read anything by this author, so I think that would be pretty interesting. I'm not too sure if she has books before this, or if this is her first ever, or just first YA, but from what I gathered, I saw the word debut on there, so it's up for grabs. Again, this is a rom-com and I've heard so many great things about this. I think the cover is so adorable. I'm not the biggest fan of YA romances, but I have heard just really good things, so this is definitely a top contender. Next up is A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. I have never read a book by Frederick Bachman, and surprisingly, this is his debut novel. This is the first book he ever wrote. I actually did start Anxious People a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I ended up soft DNFing it because I just don't think it was the right time for me. But I think I'm ready for Frederick Bachman now, and I think 2025 looks like the year for him. I also really want to watch this movie. This is a movie with Tom Hanks, so I think that would be really interesting. So between these two, Better Than the Movies and A Man Called Ove, I think I'm leaning towards this one. This again would be my first ever Frederick Bachman book, so I think I'm gonna add this to the January TBR. Who would have thought this is the first book for 2025 that is getting added to a TBR? Congratulations. All right, putting this one back. Better Than the Movies. It's been on here for a long time, so maybe we'll have another chance to pick it. Second prompt is gonna go to book with number in title. Hopefully I even have one because doing a quick scan, I don't really see anything. There's this one, 1,000 Splendid Suns. Don't quite know if I'm ready to have my heart broken by this just yet. Okay, surprisingly, I only have two with numbers in the title on the TBR card, and it is these two. We have 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini and The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I've read books by both of these authors, and I just know these are going to be really emotional, very deep books. So regardless, either one I pick, it's gonna be a tough read. I've heard so many amazing things about this book. It's been on my TBR for quite a long time. I actually remember last January I put this on my TBR because I wanted to read it, and I haven't read it yet. And then The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Kristen Hanna was my favorite author in 2024. I discovered her books, read 3 of them. I'm obsessed with her. This book, coincidentally, was the first Kristen Hanna book that I ever bought, so I've had it for a while, and I don't know why I haven't picked this up yet. So I'm between these two, and I'm gonna say I'm pretty 50-50 because genuinely, I wouldn't mind reading either one. I don't really know what either one is about either, so I don't know if I would go in a little bit blindly or what the deal breaker really is gonna be here. I think I want to go with 1,000 Splendid Suns. I mean, I'm literally torn between these two because I know they're gonna be such good books. But I think I want to keep Kristen Hanna on my little cart for a bit longer. I think I'm gonna go with 1,000 Splendid Suns. I am pretty scared of this book, but I have had it for such a long time that I think I just have to rip off the band-aid and read it. So that's gonna be book number 2 on our January TBR. Prompt number 3. We need some romances, I think. Let's see what this is gonna give me. Book title that starts with my initial. That's gonna be difficult. My initial is K, so there isn't. Maybe let's do initial of our book channel of my bookstagram. It's breezybookreads, so that is a B. Let's see if that will be any better for us. Again. I mean, if it ends up being the only one, then I think it's just, oh, never mind. Okay, we have 3 options this time. Again, Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. We have Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson, which again, been on my TBR for a little bit now. And Blue Sisters by Coco Melors. This is one of the books that I actually wanted to read before 2024 ended. Sufficient to say I did not get to it, but this one had a very big year. I feel like I saw this cover everywhere. It's a book from Book of the Month. I just heard that it's about sisterhood, has some substance, emotional depth, my type of book. So between these 3, I think I'm leaning towards this one. I think it really is looking like Better Than the Movies is kind of meant to be on my TBR at this point because we've picked her twice, but we're not gonna choose her, unfortunately. It's just not her time. So we're gonna go with Blue Sisters by Coco Melors. Right, putting her back, sorry. Next prompt. Let's see what we get now. We got a longish one. A nature word and title. That's kind of interesting. What's a nature word? So like tree. Is chicken, is a chicken a part of nature? Wind, the 4 winds. Okay, so I have a few here, and then I also saw fire and flame. I think I'm gonna leave those on the TBR cart because I don't know how naturey those are. Those are just more like elements and earth things. But the ones here, I have the Island of Missing Trees and the 4 Winds. I feel like those are pretty naturey. If I'm not gonna lie, tree is the most naturey thing, so that might mean the Island of Missing Trees is going to be read this month. I fear I have had this book for like over 2 or 3 years. I don't even know what it's about, but it is a Reese's Book Club book, and you guys know favorite book club, so I think we're gonna go here because again, I don't want to add the 4 Winds now that I added some other, I think these are all like contemporary or historical fiction, so we have a very interesting blend here. I'm gonna add this one. Feel it's not gonna be as deep as the 4 Winds. I won't really know until I read both of them, but I think I'm gonna go with this one because again, I think it stays more true to the prompt of having a nature word in the title, and there's nothing more naturey than trees. We have 4, we need 2 more. I'm hoping for a thriller mystery, maybe a romance. I just need something that's gonna be a bit lighter. This prompt fell out of the jar while I was swirling them around, so we're gonna pick it. A yellow cover. So, okay guys, like it's meant to be. The universe is trying to tell me something. We're picking Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is the other option, The Chicken Sisters by KJ Della Antonia, and this is also a Reese's Book Club book. We already have a Reese's Book Club book on the list, so you know what? I think we're fine skipping this one. We have a few other yellow, but you know what? There's nothing more, this is a yellow cover than this. So we're going with Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I am very excited to finally read this because like I mentioned, it's been on the TBR for a while, and it's definitely been a book that I've always seen people talk about, even now, which I feel like this came out a few years ago and I still see people talk about it. So that has to mean something. We are adding this to our TBR. Let's do one more and see what we end up picking. All right, we grabbed one. It says sci-fi book. That's interesting. I don't know if I have sci-fi on here. I fear I might not. I'm not a big sci-fi reader, so let's just pick another one because I don't have sci-fi. Yeah, I don't think I do. Okay, another short one. We have very small ones left. A book in a series. This is the good one. This is one I wanted. Right off the bat, we have the Addicted series, we have Maple Hill series, and we have Chestnut Springs. Oh, we're not done yet. We have Powerless trilogy. Oh, and we have Leather and Like. You know what? We're not doing trilogies because those are different. And it just will make my decision easier. Oh, I don't know why Reckless is on here. This is the, wait, which one's first? I just read Powerless. Oh, okay. Reckless is next, not Hopeless. Wait a minute, we have one more. So these are our options. Fuel the Fire by Krista and Becca Ritchie, which is part of the Addicted series, book maybe like 7 or 8. We're getting deep into it. We have Daydream, a Maple Hills novel. This is book 3 in the Maple Hills series. We have Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is book 4 in the Chestnut Springs series. And we have Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is book 2 in the Empyrean series. So this is the only fantasy out of the other 3, which are all romances. So let me think, what do I honestly want to read all 4 of these. If I had the time and the space on my TBR, I honestly would. Honestly, we might have to end up picking 2 just because It's the last prompt. It's the beginning of the year. These are all books I really want to read. So let's do that. I think I want to go with these two. I don't know though. The next book in the like Iron Flame series, that's what I'm going to call it, even though it's called the Empyrean series, comes out in January. So I do need to have this read like ASAP. I think we're going to do that. Let's pick Iron Flame and a romance. I think I want to do Daydream. I don't know why. I've really been wanting to read Daydream, especially in the winter time. I don't know why this cover just screams winter to me, but it's going to be kind of scary because this is the last book in the Maple Hills series that is currently out. So once I'm done with it, I'm all caught up. So do I want to do that? I don't know. Okay, I can feel my indecisiveness like coming in, and I am a very indecisive person. So let's do this off camera because it's gonna take me way too long. All right, guys, I think I decided. I think we're gonna go with Iron Flame, like I mentioned, because it is the only fantasy series and the next book comes out in January, so I think I have to read it. And I think we're gonna go with Fuel the Fire. Hear me out, hear me out. I just wanna get through this series already. Like, it's been a long time coming. And yeah, I just wanna get it off my TBR. Daydream I think would be a great book to read maybe during Valentine's Day in February when the next one is announced so I can catch up. So I think I'm gonna leave this one on my TBR for now. So we're adding these two. Now let's quickly talk about all the books that are on my TBR. TBR with a B. First book we're gonna discuss is Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. Also, disclaimer, or not a disclaimer, but just letting you guys know, I literally looked these all up on Goodreads and they all have above 4 stars. So I am in for a very good reading month if I get through all of these. Now this one is more just contemporary fiction. It is about 3 estranged sisters who come together to their family home in New York, and they all live and deal with very different things, some very difficult things like addiction, trauma, whatnot. Basically, this book is going to be very emotional and talking and exploring the relationship between sisters and what that's like, navigating life through it all. Sounds very interesting. Next up is The Island of Missing Trees. This is a Reese's Book Club book, and when I looked it up, it basically says this is a magical realism book, so that's very interesting. I don't read too many of that genre, but every single book that I have read in that genre, I have thoroughly enjoyed. So we're going to see what this one is like. It seems, I can't even describe or summarize what the little prompt told me because it's very kind of magical. But this is about 2 teenagers. So they are 2 teenagers and they meet at a taverna on the island they both call home. This just sounds like something that is pure escapism and that I'm definitely gonna need in between some of these tougher, more emotional and deep books. Next up, A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. First Frederick Bachman book on my TBR. Very excited for this one. This is kind of about a kind of grumpy older man who lives in his house, and a boisterous, young, fun family moves in next door, and he's gonna have to navigate that. If this is anything like the storied life of AJ Fikry, then I'm gonna be obsessed with it because I love an old grumpy man who just finds the meaning of life. So we'll see how this one goes. Next up, A Thousand Splendid Suns. This is going to break my heart in half, I fear. This is the same author as The Kite Runner, which is an amazing book, but very, very sad. This is a historical fiction book about I think 2 teens or 2 kids in Kabul, Afghanistan, and then we flash forward to their life a few years later. So very reminiscent of The Kite Runner. I'm gonna definitely have to mentally prepare myself for this one, I already know. Next up, Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a rom-com. I'm not gonna go too much into it just because it is a rom-com. Like, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't really know like the ins and outs of it, but I think I'm gonna go into it sort of blindly. I'm not gonna even read the back of it, but we'll just see how this one turns out. I have high expectations for this one just because of the amount of hype and talk that I've heard surrounding it. Next up, Fuel the Fire by Krista and Becca Ritchie, book 8 in the Addicted series. And again, I'm just trying to get through this series. Now, I am surprised and very, very happy, like very pleasantly surprised to see that this is a Rose and Connor book, which if you guys have watched me for a little bit, Kiss the Sky has so far is one of my favorite books in the entire series because I just love this couple. So I'm very excited now to go into this because I've been waiting for more of their kind of perspective and point of view on kind of what's going on at this point in time in this entire series. So again, Rose and Connor, I'm obsessed. 2 of my favorite characters. Romance series, by the way. And then last but not least is Iron Flame Take Two. I think this was on my November TBR. Didn't get to it, didn't finish it. So let's see if I can finish it this month. Again, Onyx Storm, which is book 3 in the Empyrean series, comes out in January. So I kind of have to finish this one. It is very thick and I've heard very hard to get through. So we're gonna try it out. We'll see how it is. And then I'll let you guys know how that goes. But this is the book after Iron Flame. This is the book after Fourth Wing, which took the world by storm. And I actually really enjoyed that book. I think I rated it 4.5 stars, like very thoroughly enjoyed. The way it ended, perfect. Like I'm excited to see what that's gonna be like in this book. Are we gonna pick off right off the bat? Like where in time are we? This is the last book on the January TBR. So I have quite a lot to get through in January. We do have some travels, some long flights, so hopefully I can knock some of those out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys subscribe and stay along to see if I will finish these books. Bye!